Greetings, friends. My name is Trickster. Let's begin our stories. I had just moved to a new city and was in need of some furniture for my new apartment. I found an ad on Craigslist for a used couch that looked comfortable and affordable. The seller agreed to meet me at a nearby park for the exchange. When I arrived at the park, I saw the seller sitting on the bench with a big grin on his face. He seemed friendly enough, and we started chatting about the couch. He told me it had belonged to his grandmother and was in great condition. We walked over to his van, and he opened the back doors to reveal the couch. As I was inspecting it, he started asking me personal questions, like where I lived and whether I lived alone. I started to feel uncomfortable but brushed it off, thinking he was just being friendly. When I agreed to buy the couch, the seller insisted on helping me load it into my car. As we were lifting it, I noticed a strange smell coming from his van. It was a sickly sweet smell that made me feel dizzy and nauseous. I asked him about it, and he said it was just some cleaning supplies. As I was driving home, I started to feel even more sick and realized I had been drugged. I managed to pull over and call the police, who arrived quickly and arrested the seller. They found a stash of drugs and weapons in his van, along with evidence that he had been using Craigslist to lure and rob unsuspecting buyers. I realized how lucky I was to have escaped the situation relatively unscathed. From then on, I made sure to take precautions when meeting strangers from Craigslist, such as meeting in public places and telling someone where I was going. I learned the hard way that not everyone on Craigslist is trustworthy. I was browsing through Craigslist when I came across an ad for a vintage dollhouse. It was a beautiful miniature mansion with intricate details and antique furniture, and I knew it would be the perfect addition to my collection. I arranged to meet the seller, a woman who lived in a small town outside the city. When I arrived at her house, I was greeted by a musty smell and a cluttered living room, filled with old furniture and toys. The woman was friendly but seemed nervous, like she was hiding something. As she led me to the back of the house where the dollhouse was stored, I noticed that the hallway was dark and dimly lit. The light fixtures were flickering, and the wallpaper was peeling off the walls. It was clear that the woman did not take good care of her home. When we reached the back room, she opened the door, revealing the dollhouse in all its glory. I was thrilled, and we spent a few minutes discussing its history and features. But as I examined the dollhouse more closely, I noticed that some of the dolls and furniture were missing, and there were strange scratches and marks on the walls. Feeling uneasy, I asked the woman if everything was all right. She hesitated before confessing that her daughter, who had lived in the room before her, had passed away years ago in a mysterious accident. Ever since then, strange things had been happening in the house, like objects moving on their own and unexplained noises coming from the walls. Suddenly, the lights in the room started flickering, and a loud banging sound echoed through the hallway. The woman panicked and urged me to leave, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As I made my way out of the house, I heard a faint whisper coming from the dollhouse. I turned around, and to my horror, I saw that one of the dolls had moved on its own, its eyes fixated on me. I ran out of the house, my heart racing, and drove away as fast as I could. To this day, I'm not sure what happened in that house or if the woman was telling the truth. But one thing is for sure. I will never forget the feeling of terror that overcame me in that dark. It was a reminder that sometimes the things we find on Craigslist can be more than just simple transactions. They can be gateways to the unknown and the terrifying. was looking for a used car on Craigslist and came across an ad for a vintage convertible that caught my eye. The seller claimed that it was in excellent condition and had been well maintained over the years. I arranged to meet the seller in a quiet parking lot to check out the car. When I arrived at the parking lot, the seller was already there, waiting for me. He was an older man with a friendly smile, and we shook hands before he showed me the car. It was a beautiful red convertible, just as advertised, and I was eager to take it for a test drive. However, as I sat in the driver's seat, I started to feel uneasy. There was something about the seller's demeanor that made me feel uncomfortable, like he was hiding something. I brushed it off and started the car, but the engine sounded strange, and there was a foul smell coming from the exhaust. Despite my reservations, I decided to take the car for a test drive. But as I drove, I noticed that the car was handling poorly and the brakes were almost non-existent. It was clear that the car was not in the excellent condition that the seller had claimed. When I returned to the parking lot, the seller was waiting for me with a strange look on his face. He asked me if I liked the car, and I told him that it wasn't what I was looking for. He seemed disappointed, but I thanked him and started to leave. As I was walking back to my car, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around and saw the seller walking towards me with a knife in his hand. I froze, not knowing what to do. But luckily a security guard spotted us and came to my rescue. The seller was arrested, and the police later discovered that he had been using Craigslist to lure unsuspecting buyers into dangerous situations. It was a terrifying experience that reminded me of the importance of being cautious when meeting strangers from Craigslist. I learned that it's crucial to trust your instincts and to take precautions when meeting someone from the internet.